Yes, people, we back. Welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast with your boy Sheps and a broski, Big Mike.
We've got another banger for you today. You know when someone's creativity just oozes out of everything they touch? Yeah, that's today's guest.
Facts. From designing wild ideas that make you smile to building a whole creative world around curiosity. This guy's like the human version of What If.
He's a creative thinker, speaker, daydreamer, and he's even writing a book. You've probably seen his work floating around, but today we're diving into the mind behind the madness.
We're talking about Andy Khatouli. Big up, Andy, my man. A creative force who lives and breathes imagination. One of the most creative guys I know, and I'm so grateful to be to call this guy my friend. You know, he's sick. He really inspires me. We get into his journey, what it means to stay playful as he grows up, and how just making things for the joy of it can change everything.
So, grab a cup of tea, get your jam on toast, and lock in. This one's a blend of creativity, curiosity, and good energy.
As always, let's go. But before we do get into it, please hit that subscribe button. We've got lots of exciting stuff coming soon you don't want to miss. Hit that subscribe button and tell your mumsy to listen too. Enjoy.
Peace.
Peace. Right, well, listen, Andy, welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast, brother. Big ups for doing this. Appreciate you massively, and thank you for finding the time.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
I love the settings. I love the attire, bro. Everything's loud. Me and Michael are blacked out. Do you know what I mean? Oh, sick, bro. Sick, man. What's been going on, bro? How's things? How's your day?
Yeah, it's been all right. I've just been like cracking on with some freelance gigs, putting together a few little sort of side projects. I was just chilling at the British Library, which is a good spot to work at. So if anyone's there, come say hello. Now I'm home trying not to melt in this summer heat.
I'm feeling that with you. Obviously, you're not really prepped. Well, obviously you've got AC, but not many people have AC in the UK, do they? So like when it's hot, like everything melts.
Sometimes there's like things that you buy in your life where you're like, this was a very good purchase. Like, I'm so glad I spent this money.
I love it, bro. Sick. Right, listen, to warm things up, if your life had a wrestling style walkout, what would the music and entrance be and look like?
Oh, man.
You must have thought of this, Andy.
Probably Basement Jaxx, Where's Your Head At? I think that would be my jam.
Nice.
Yeah. And then do I need to choose my attire?
You can quickly take me through it if you've got something on top of mind.
I'll probably go for like something really lo-fi, like something out of like the Mighty Boosh, like like made out of cardboard and cream and fruit and all manner of things. So probably something like that.
And have you got a wrestling name, Andy?
Do you know what? Someone actually asked me this like 2 years ago on a podcast. Completely took me out. I was like, oh my goodness, how have I not thought of this? So I went away and had a proper think about it. So I'd probably be called Killer Cat.
Killer Cat, I like it.
Yeah. It was. I saw it on a Kate Renata track, like one of his old ones, and I was like, that's the name. If I was ever a wrestler, it'd be called Killer Cat. Just kind of rolls off the tongue. You can sell loads of merchandise. The kids would be cheering your name. You know what it is. So.
Yeah, nice. I love it.
There's a guy in the UFC, and his surname is Feely, and his fighting name is Touchy. So he's called Touchy Feely. I love that one because it's just it's a good one.
Maybe I should be more inventive with mine.
And you kill me, lad. So we met in it, obviously through the social world, right? The world of socials.
I can't remember. I think I reached out to you on LinkedIn and I was just like, love what you guys are doing, love what you represent. And I could tell that we were kind of cut from the same cloth. So I was like, I'm going to get along with this guy. So I was excited to meet you as well, Michael. So it's good to finally talk.
Yeah. Likewise, man. I've heard so much and I'm sure we're going to get into it very soon because you guys have been working on a bit of a project together.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, without further ado, it'd be great to hear about your background, your story. So the way we usually kick this off is to go all the way back to the start, to the beginnings of Andy. Where did you grow up and what was life like there?
Okay, man, big question. Born and raised North London. Parents used to be refugees, now citizens, UK baby. So they came over in the 90s. Obviously, I grew up here. And then, yeah, grew up around North London, mostly around Dalston in my younger years. So we technically lived in Newington Green, but we spent a lot of our time in Dalston. So I always say Dalston. Plus, it's cooler, right?
Yeah.
So it's got good vibes over there. And then, yeah, so I guess straight to uni, we'll fast track. Went to Coventry, which was interesting. I remember coming back after the first year, and I said to a few friends when they were asked, like, what's Coventry like? I didn't really like the place. Sorry to all my friends in Coventry. It's a nice place now. Yeah, and then came back to London, worked in a bag shop for a couple of years, learned about luxury leather and ostrich leather and all that kind of sort of thing. And then eventually got like my first gig working at some charity in South Kensington. So I think I got like a little freelance gig there, and I begged the senior designer to give me the job. So shout out to Senor John Lloyd for giving me my first job. If I ever win an award, I'll definitely like dedicate it to him, because he's the reason I'm here.
I love it.
And then I got a big break at Studio Moross. Shout out to Aries, love Aries. Like, they're doing some incredible stuff over there. And honestly, I think without Aries, I wouldn't be where I am right now in terms of my career. So massive respect and love to Aries. And then from there, just like went to a couple of places, Ragged Edge, did the freelance circuit, worked at loads of places in London, Koto, DixonBaxi, 4 People, the usual sorts. Ran my own agency for a couple of years with some new people. That was a massive experience. I'm sure I can tell you more about that in a bit. And then joined a couple of bigger places. So I was at Wolff Olins for a year, and then I was most recently at JKR as well, and now I'm back on the freelance circuit. So that's kind of the whistle-stop tour of Andy Khatouli's career / a little bit about my life.
Love it, bro. There's a lot to unpack there. Jesus Christ, where do we start, Michael? Right, so that's amazing. I love it, Andy. Sick. So quickly, just going back to the childhood, what was like one thing you daydreamed about as a kid? See what I did there, Andy? This is good podcasting, bro. Do you know what I'm saying, bro?
I see what you did.
Lad, you're good at this. You're good at this.
What's one thing you daydreamed about as a kid that's actually come true?
Do you know what? I think, to be honest, I daydreamed about everything. So as kids usually do. One of the things that I daydreamed a lot about was when I'd watch something like Nickelodeon. So like Keenan and Kel, like that was my jam. Like, and then when I was at Studio Moross, I actually got to work with Nickelodeon, which was like a huge like deal for me. Like, it was still to this day like one of my favorite projects. So I guess that's probably like a daydream that came true, was like trying to be connected to Keenan and Kel. Eventually did somehow. I haven't met either of them. I would love to meet either of them. That would be cool. But yeah, most of my childhood was just dreaming up all sorts of things, like making dumb stuff, like almost killing myself opening up the massive TVs. Like, I used to just like break stuff in the house because I was just so curious about like, how does it work? And yeah, and I guess that coming to life in my job now, like I get to do all this sort of like weird, wacky stuff, be curious about the world and how things work, and trying to break it and make something new. So I'd say a lot of my daydreams have come to life.
Oh, I love that. Wait, when you said the big TV, is the one with the big like BBLs and that?
Oh yeah. The big back TV. Kids these days don't get it. They don't get it, man.
They don't get it.
No,
they don't get it. Listen, bro, them things was heavy, bro. Wait, wait, so you used to take them apart and like look inside them and stuff?
Everything and anything in my house, like my mum would get so pissed off with me because I just break everything. Because it's just like, oh, just get a screwdriver and open up this TV whilst it's on. It's just like, no, don't do that. So,
that's amazing, bro. Wait, so what got you into design, and what was the catalyst? Like, what was the thing? Like, what was the intro like?
You know, I remember asking my mum about this, and she said like I just naturally went towards creativity. It was kind of just wired within me. Mm-hmm. But I think that I've kind of spoken about this before. So sorry if anyone who's heard this story, but like shows like Blue Peter, Smart, Art Attack, like those were the things that like made me realize like you could live doing this, and like it kind of birthed in me that sort of that drive to go and do it. And I think because they used materials that were so easily readily available, it just made it more tangible. So like you'd make stuff with the cardboard boxes and the loo rolls, and man, I don't know how many times I made Tracy Islands, but like like these things were the things that like have like been sort of the cornerstone for like how I create and think, and it's now my philosophy to design. It's just like do stuff bad until it's like really good. So I think I like I have massive I'm massively grateful for those shows growing up. I don't know if anything like that still exists, but it definitely was instrumental in like the way I thought and about the world and myself.
Yeah, I love that, bro. Art Attack, man. Like back in them days, it was hard, wasn't it? Because like you never had the bits. It weren't like you couldn't pause TV back then, innit? So I remember always like watching it and then running around. And by the time I'd found all the stuff in the arts, it'd be finished.
Oh man,
yeah.
The amount of
well, it was always his one I made earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like Neil Buchanan must have had like a mountain supply of table salt whenever he would do those. Like, so like again, I'd piss off my mum so much from like using stuff in the kitchen, and she'd just be like it costs money to buy this stuff, right? So.
Oh, that's amazing. So like with that, then, so obviously you had the intro, and obviously you started at the first agency, but was there any placements you did or anything like that, or did you just start working straight up?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't have any proper placement. I think because when I finished uni, I didn't go straight into design. I took a year out. I did some theology training, and it was something important for me at the time.
What did you study? What did you study at uni?
I did graphic design.
Was it just pure graphic?
Yeah. So I did that, and then at uni, like I was kind of exploring faith and stuff like that. So then one of my friends at the time was like, "Hey, come do this course. I think it'll be good for you, just for your soul and stuff." So I did that bit of soul searching, which was, it was good for me. It gave me foundation in life. And then when I came back to London, I was just like, man, I'm lost. Like how the heck do I get back on the, on the train? Because like all my like, my peers have got jobs, like, they're kind of like living the life right, like at that time. And I was just like, oh, no one's picking me up, because I was like, oh, have I missed, the opportunity here? Is the door closed for me? And then really all I had to do was just like do loads of stuff on the side. Like I was doing passion projects. I was working with friends. I was just like doing stuff for free, like non-stop. I think it took me about 2 years to get back into the industry after that. So, it wasn't like smooth sailing, but the thing for me was like I was hungry, like I wanted it. So I just kept doing what I needed to do.
Love it. And what was that journey like, Andy? Because you mentioned about working with a charity quite early on in your career. There's obviously like a bit of a gap then between then going to somewhere like the likes of Studio Moross. How did you prepare your portfolio to get to that standard and that level? And obviously Studio Moross is quite like loud and garish. So I can imagine there must be something quite interesting in your portfolio to get the attention there.
Yeah, because I think this is the thing why I say like I'm massively grateful to John, who was the senior designer at that charity I was working at. He basically let me make loads of mistakes in my first year. And I think maybe that was partly due to his personality. Like he was quite a gracious person. Like he was very patient. He'd always refer to me as Padawan, kind of like Star Wars reference. But he saw that I had the tools, but maybe not necessarily like the knowledge to kind of get through it. So he kind of gave me the sort of the jobs that were easy to understand at first, and then gradually he helped me to kind of do more challenging stuff. And he kind of put me in positions where I could pick up kind of the fundamental skills that I needed. And then like, I guess on the side, whilst I was working on projects that I was excited about, I'd often do things that were like bold and colorful, and most often like music related or film related or like pop culture related. So when I rocked up at Studio Moross and they were doing like sort of this like day kind of trial thing, like Aries, and there was a guy there at the time, Charlie, who like, obviously again, big up to Charlie, because he really helped me figure out like what I needed to do to get noticed. But like they just saw my work and they were like, okay, this guy's got energy. Like he's got passion, he's got drive, he's doing stuff on his own, even though work his 9 to 5 might be a little bit more kind of just mundane. And I think they saw the potential in me, and that was what was attractive. And so when I finally got the job, like I went all guns blazing on it. I was just like, I just need to try anything and everything, learn as much as I can, bob at everyone in the studio, be annoying, just be like, how did you do that? Tell me how you did that, da 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 da. And then and it was cool because like Aries would give me like little side quests. Like they would be like, oh, I know you're working on this project. Maybe in your lunch break, do this. And I was like, okay, cool. And then Aries would kind of show me a little bit of their sort of like process and like how they did it. And then they would just kind of like pass on their knowledge to me. And then I was just like, okay, cool. I'm around good people now. Even though it's like crazy world, like lots of big clients walking through, like, high profile people in the office, in the studio. It's just like, yeah, this is the right place for me because like I've got the energy right now and I'm hungry and I just want to do whatever I can. So I think it was a mixture of like learning the fundamentals at the charity, like knowing how to set up grids, knowing how to use software, knowing how to like do all the kind of like client big team meetings, like who to report to, all of the stuff that you don't really get taught at uni. And then whilst on the side, doing all the stuff that I felt passionate about and I had loads of energy for. So when I rocked up to Studio Moross, they were like, yeah, cool. You can be on the team. So yeah, it's kind of a mix of those two, really.
Yeah, nice, very nice.
Nice.
That's sick. Love it, bro. So, understandably, we want to get into some work, but before we go into the work, we're just going to keep flowing through this, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
So with like Ragged Edge and your Wolves and your JKRs, and even the agencies you obviously was talking about there, take us behind the scenes, Andy. Like, how were they all different? You know what I mean? What was the most? It's not very, not necessarily linear with the style of design agency that you've been to. So,
yeah,
that reinvention every time, so to say.
Yeah, totally. Like that's something that I've really tried to do as much as I could, even in the early days of my career. Was like I wanted to be at places that were all different from each other, and like there's obviously pros and cons to that. Like the con is that like I've never really picked up a specific style of working. I've just like learned from a lot of people and tried to integrate it into my own way. But yeah, I think every place had their own flavor. Like there's certain parts of like the creative process, especially like branding agency worlds, where you can see similarities, right? There's like some fundamentals that they all work towards. But I think where the nuance comes in is where how they would like to be perceived as an agency and the type of work that they're going after. So the bigger places like JKR and Wolff are quite similar in terms of like the type of profile of client that they get, the size of teams that work on the project, the process that they go through in terms of like briefings, conceptual, creating, collaborating with different teams in the agency, liaising with the client. Like that whole process feels very similar on the kind of more bigger agency worlds. I think when you kind of go to the sort of those mid-sized ones, like the Ragged Edges, the Kotos, that kind of vibe. The Koto might be seen as a big one now, but I think working with them, you could see there was a lot more flexibility in terms of like how you would want to approach things. I think a lot of the times, like, stuff like how do you build things and like how do you make sure you're really efficient with your time and how do you do your timesheets? Like all of those things can sometimes force a process to feel kind of a certain way. But I think at the sort of smaller agencies, there's a lot more, I guess they're a little bit more relaxed around certain things. So it kind of gives you freedom to go, why don't we try it slightly differently this time? Or like, how would you approach it here and there? And I think that gives a lot more freedom. I think there's also, because the teams are smaller, obviously there's the dynamic is a lot more tight knit. So you're getting to know people a little bit better. You kind of pick up on their preferences of how they would like to work. So you've got a little bit more space to do that. So yeah, every studio kind of has its pros and cons. Like there's things that work really well, and then there's other things that could change or be done differently.
Yeah, I think it's great. Sorry, Michael. I think it's great. It's one thing the agencies that I've been to, obviously every agency is different in its own right, like you're saying there, but like it's very linear in the kind of outcome sometimes, you know what I mean? And I wish I had, maybe chuck myself in the deeper end, sometimes going to an agency what is completely opposite to what I've just been doing for 5 years, say,
Yeah, but I mean, I got friends who've been at the same place for, 5, 10 years or whatever, or been in similar places, right? And I look at them and I really admire them, because I'm like, you've clearly got like that determination and that grit to keep going and keep growing and learn the trade from there, and then they become experts in that space, right? Like they're the heroes in that space who you can rely on to like carry lots of stuff. So I kind of look at that and I go like, that's really admirable. But I know the way that I'm wired and the way that I work is I want to try lots and I want to do as much as I can.
Yeah, I love it. Nice. Sorry, Michael.
No, you're good. So this might be jumping the conversation quite a bit, but I'm really interested in, some of those agencies, Ragged Edge, Wolff Olins, JKR, they all do very different things and all do them very, very well. This is like quite a big question, but is there any sort of things that you've learned from those different places that obviously now we'll obviously get into Daydreamers a little bit deeper sooner, in a bit after you've shown the web, but is there any sort of ways of working or like tools that you use which you would do now with Daydreamers from those different places?
Yeah, man, there's so much. There is like, I don't think I could pinpoint everything, and especially because I wouldn't want to like caricature these places, because like they're incredible for what they are, right? And I think a lot of them are very complex in the way that they're set up, complex in a positive way, right? So like they have there's loads of feathers to what makes them. And I think the big thing that I definitely like, just because I'm speaking to a lot of like students and graduates right now and seeing their portfolios, and it kind of like takes me back and makes me think like, what was the big thing that I picked up when I entered the agency world, and what's the thing that's been consistent and I've learned from throughout the years? And I think the big thing is strategy, like brand strategy. Even talking to like friends who are lecturers and stuff, like I don't think it often is spoken about in that environment really early on. So when you come into the agency world, and it's a cornerstone to how we eventually make stuff visual or feel it or hear it, like strategy is right at the center, and you need to understand how to set up brands for the long run. So it's not just an aesthetic touch on a project or a client, but it's like this clear, methodical thing that helps things to live in the long run, right? So, and it needs to be effective, right? It needs to hit certain goals. It needs to be able to attract certain audiences. It needs to resonate, and essential to that is like being able to identify what the big issue is and what the challenges are, and how we can provoke in that space and create things that are new and feel fresh and excite people. So I'd say from all of those places, I've picked up something that wasn't necessarily taught to me at uni level, which is strategy. And being in each of those places, everyone has their own way of doing it as well. So whenever I've joined somewhere new, I've said to people, like, the people I'm most excited to work alongside are strategists, like, because it's the area that I didn't get as much input on. So I want to go to them and be like, how do you think through this? And how do you lay out this? And how do you structure this? And where do you see gaps? And like, can I use that then as inspiration for when I go away and start ideating? So like, I love working alongside visual creatives just as much, but I especially love being around the critical thinkers, because it's like, oh, you're the guys who are going to actually challenge the way that I'm connecting the dots, right? So I would say strategy has been like the thing that I absolutely love, kind of sitting alongside people and just watching how they process their information and get to a certain conclusion.
Yeah, love it. Sick. So obviously you've been sat in the creative director role for a while now. What's one thing do you feel that people get wrong about that role, whether it's outside looking in or even people in it?
I would say I got this wrong, so I expect that other people will get this wrong, is that creative directing involves a lot of managerial skills. And as obvious as that sounds, but sometimes it's misleading because the title doesn't suggest that, right? It sounds like it's more closer to the work than it is. But actually, I think the title really should be called creative manager, because it's all about orchestrating a team in a way to be able to get from A to Z, and to do that in a way that feels exciting, right? So you almost have this kind of like duality to your role, which is, I'm an exceptional creative thinker, dreamer, ideas person. Like I can communicate an idea, I can present an idea, I can build a world for people to suddenly enter into and then create in. But also I need to be mindful of the team and how things are structured and how things should progress, over the course of 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months, right? And that's something that I was immediately exposed to when I started stepping into the bigger agency worlds, and realized like I wasn't well equipped for that. Like I'd always been someone who was really close to the work and had a certain style of working with the team, and I'm a lot more hands-on, a lot more democratic, a lot more pastoral. But sometimes in certain agency spaces, it requires you actually to be a lot more hands-off, step back, look at the bigger picture, be more of a manager. And so that's kind of the one thing I think a lot of people don't realize about the creative director role, maybe when they're in a slightly younger role, is that you start to kind of pull away from the things that you're used to in terms of like touching stuff and being close to it, and actually taking more of like this broader, almost like strategic view around the project in its entirety.
Yeah, that's great, Andy. I love that. Nice. Right, so without further ado, show me some bad ideas, bro.
Yeah. Should we jump into some like case study work and stuff?
Oh, I'd love to. So obviously you've worked with MTV, Beyond Me. I don't know what you're going to take us through specifically. I think I do actually. You did mention it to me. But
okay.
What project would make your younger self lose his mind?
Oof. As in dream project, I would like to work
you've worked with some sick brands, bro. MTV's a killer. Do you know what I mean? I love that, and even like Human Race, like, do you know what I mean? Stuff like. Did you work when it was Human Race? Did you manage to meet Pharrell and stuff?
No. The Human Race project, I was working alongside the team who had more responsibility over it. Standard. But it was more of a photography campaign shoot.
Oh, was it?
So
right.
yeah.
Nice.
It was right at the inception of the kind of skincare range. So they obviously like brought us in because the photographers on my team who are sick. So shout out to Sam, to Matt and Steph. Like they did a fab job on that, and I was just sort of like on the side, like trying to just inspire and just feed in where I can, right? So I think that's what's nice sometimes when you. Sorry, this is a side note, but like when you're working with the team and you just trust them, you're like, actually, I don't need to say much. Like I can just watch and admire, right?
Yeah.
So just like watching them going like, okay, yeah, they're in the zone. So dream project. Oh man. Do you know what I've been thinking about actually? Because like I think my dream project would probably be the worst project I'd be on, because it's the type of client where I think it'd be so big you wouldn't necessarily get the feeling you want from it, if you know what I mean. Because there'll be too many it'll be too kind of pragmatic and like. So I was like, can I take my dream client and find like a smaller version of it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Closer to it. So like obviously the dream client would be WWE, which is like big wrestling promotion. But I was like, I don't want to work for them, because I think it would crush my spirit once I get into all the nitty gritty. I think what I would love to do is work with like a small wrestling promotion in the UK.
Yeah.
So like someone like Hustle, who like are out in Hackney. If anyone wants to go watch wrestling, go watch Hustle in Hackney. It's sick. Progress, Attack Pro, like one of those small, much smaller kind of brands that are like local. They've still got a massive following, like massive cult around it, but the permission is there to kind of be like, okay, let's try and create something new and fresh. Whereas like going to like a WWE where they've got like a really strong established brand and they're, quite, guardians over it and protective over it. Like, I don't think I would get a lot of freedom on that. So I think for me, I need that space to be able to kind of provoke and say, let's try something new. So yeah, that'll probably be it. Like a small wrestling promotion would be the dream.
Bro, you can definitely make that happen. If anyone can make that happen, you can, Andy. Jesus Christ, bro.
Well, I mean, I'm pulling through the show, so I might as well just go and talk to the owners. So.
In it, do you know? I love it. Right, show us some work, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Let me share my screen. I want to show.
Yes, broski, what's good?
Lad, I'm just doing my big shop in China. Check out how crazy all this packaging is.
Yo, mad thing. I'm just doing a big shot too. Check out all this sick packaging.
Do you know what? There should be a design ceremony or something like that for all this sick packaging.
What, lad? Have you never heard of the Die-Line Packaging Awards?
Ah?
Oh, lad, entries are now open for 2026. Don't sleep on it. Get the recognition you deserve for all you and your team's hard work.
Oh yeah, man, nice. Is it expensive to enter?
They switched up the pricing this year, so more people can enter. Solo designers, agencies, and students, prices vary.
Can you hit me up with a link?
Yeah, bro. Check out dielineawards.com/race-deadlines.
Yeah, man. Sick. Peace.
So this is Anno. This is like to date like probably my most favorite projects I've worked on. I think people have heard me bang on about it too much now, but like I like talking about it. So yeah, they're gonna have to just deal with it. Yeah, this is a sick project. I came onto this when I joined Wolff Olins, like in my first month. Like the pitch came through. They were like, look, we need to pitch for this. I was like, yeah, say no more. Like, just put me on a small team. We'll get the job done, right? So, obviously landed it, and then got to work with the amazing Hey Anderson, so like brand director over there at Ubisoft, and her team. Like, I don't want to name names because I'm just going to forget anyone. So, but yeah, so like big up to Hey. Like she was amazing to work with. Like, again, like dream client. Like, immediately clicked with them in the room. Like you knew that this was going to be like a good journey. Like the ambition was there to kind of do something big and crazy. So I think we were just like on the same wavelength. So yeah. So Anno is for anyone who doesn't know, is like a city building game. It's been going for like 20-25 years, something like that. Like some crazy time. It's like one of the original kind of city building games that everyone loves. Probably like the leading one compared to like some of the other brands out there. And like has a massive fan base, like millions of people who are like super loyal to what it represents and what it's for. And they kind of came to us and they were like, look, we've got this big challenge. Like we've got this amazing brand. Well, we've got this amazing community and we've got this amazing game. And people like adore it and like have invested so much into it over so many years. But we're really struggling to build out a bit of a brand identity because for whatever reason, like every time they released a title, they basically like rebrand the cover of that game, and they never really had anything consistent to like pin back to. And like so, even though like the game was building in popularity over the years and had got such a great following, there wasn't necessarily something you could kind of just like refer to as a way of like symbolizing what Anna represents. And so they were like, look, we need help to create this visual identity. So we obviously spent a lot of time kind of getting to know them, the gaming community. We got to play kind of like an early release of their new title that's coming out, which is based in Rome. And and it was just like an amazing chance to kind of look into a world that, you know, personally I never really engaged in as much. But also just to kind of see how that kind of gaming world was so important to so many people's lives. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we like picked up on really quickly about this project, which was like what made it so special, was like how integral this game was to people's like day-to-day living. And so I think for a lot of, you know, gamers and particular titles, like the things that you just like pick up and put down, they're kind of like, you sort of kill time with them or you have a little bit of fun and then you sort of get on with life, right? But like Anno seemed to be this thing that like was never seen as like a kill time, but more as like this thing is the way they kind of described it was like it was a beauty building experience, right? So it was like something that they looked forward to in their daily lives that they wanted to be part of. And because of kind of the nature of the game, it's all about preserving, and that this idea of like preservation over like a group of people and in a society and the economy and everything that's kind of like kept inside this like little world. So like I think very early on we realized like, hey, this game is more than just about kind of playing, and it's actually a lot to do with people's identities and how they feel about the world and themselves. And so I think that was like our really lovely insight was like, hey, this is all about craft. Like this game is actually quite close to what we do on a daily basis. Like we spend time getting to understand complex problems, clients, well, like issues out in the world, and we try and figure out how we can solve them through design and through creation and through any means of like creativity. And we're like, okay, this is something that could be really tangible as a way of like symbolizing an identity. So so we took that idea of like, kind of what does it look like to be crafted with care, and what does it look like to make something with intentionality and with meaning. And then we kind of set off and we were like, hey, what's the thing that we could do with this brand beyond just the kind of the aesthetics? Like, what could we do with this game? Oh, so I realize I'm not clicking through, so I'll click through now. We're like, what can we do to create something that feels unique in the gaming space? And what could we do that could shock people into, I guess, maybe rethinking like what a video game is? And because that's what the journey that we'd gone on when we were working with the Anno team. And then there was this kind of like thought that was stuck in my head for a while, which was like, a lot of the time when we create video games, there's this idea of like realism. We want to make things that feel realistic. Like we want to zoom in on like textures and pixels and materials, and that was something that was like really evident in the Anno worlds. Like they took a lot of time and consideration into how to visually depict the worlds that they were in a way that felt really accurate and historically correct. And we were like, oh, what if that's the idea that we need to kind of pull through the visual identity? What if instead of making a game that's realistic, why don't we just make a game that's real? Like, what if we actually lent into the physicality and the materiality to the worlds that people exist in on these games? And so we were like, actually, we're gonna make this whole brand out of real materials, out of raw materials, and it's gonna then input back into the kind of virtual world as sort of like a rebellion against how video games are made. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of like the leading thought. It's like, let's just ignore the screen for a second, and let's actually get back to what makes this Anno game so unique. And it's this idea of like craftsmanship and being able to like use tools and raw materials and create something that feels beautiful and is transformed. So like really early on, we were like, okay, let's pop down to like the British Museum. Let's look at like what the Romans did. Like they'd obviously invented a lot of forms of technology, and they used different tools and materials to create stuff. And I think very quickly we realized like, wow, the Romans actually invented a lot of things that we use today. And it came out of a place of like necessity, right? Like they were like, we need this thing, therefore let's go and find something that solves that problem. And then out of that came like, I guess, creative expression and all manner of kind of creative ideas. And so we were like, right, we need to start from scratch. Like we need to be able to like form this identity around something that feels like that. And so where we began with was the symbol. We knew we needed something that we could kind of anchor the whole identity around. And we liked the shape that we created, which felt very ambiguous. Like, is it a weapon? Is it a tool? Is it a piece of art? Is it something, made by one person or by many people? Where does it originate from? Does it have a timestamp? Like, can you trace it back to a period? And we really love this ambiguity around it. And we're like, actually, there's something really special about this mark. And then we imported it into the world. So we were like, hey, how do we make this with real materials? So couple of like months before, I was just like randomly on YouTube, and there was this trailer that came up of this blacksmith who was like advertising his website or something, like on Wix or whatever. And I was like, his work looks pretty sick. So I just like saved it on like one of my playlists on YouTube. And when we came to this project, I just immediately thought of him, and I was like, let's get in touch with this blacksmith and let's see if he can help us. And he was like, yes, I'm on board. Come up to the north of England. And we basically worked together with him to create the symbol from scratch. So he like cast it, with raw materials. And it was a really exciting moment, because what we were doing was like, we were seeing how a lot of the kind of like Roman technology was being preserved through him. And we were like, okay, there's lots of things that he's doing to craft this thing that we could basically replicate back into the digital world. So he made some like physical symbols for us. we kind of like we sort of examined it. We also watched how he went through his process, and we're like, can we kind of replicate that as part of our identity? And then effectively what we did was we took that philosophy. Oh, there you go. There's one of the early examples. But we took that philosophy throughout the whole visual identity. So we're like, when it comes to colors, we should really be making them like from scratch. So one of the funny stories was like we got we got bans from the building because I'd asked the design director at the time to like go and buy a certain type of stone, which was used in the Roman period to like create this very specific color. But when he bought it, he found out that it was like incredibly toxic, and even if it was exposed to the air, like it would be a problem. So we got obviously a message to say like, you're not allowed to come into the building with this with this substance, and we're like, oh crap. But then we figured a way out of doing it like in a kind of safe, controlled environment. But like that was kind of the extent that we went to, where we were like, how can we just literally take every element of the visual palette and make it from scratch? And the same went for like, you know, rest of the kind of the type system. Like we actually carved out of type, you know, we carved type out of we used like some stamps and some rubber and excuse me. And then we found a type foundry that had a similar typeface, and we were in conversations with them about crafting it and making it like this real physical thing. Some of the kind of like the kind of flourishes around the system, like so we got these like framing devices that like feature throughout. Like we spotted that as part of like a lot of like the Baroque design in the Roman period. So we were like, how do we replicate some of that style, you know, in 3D, and how do we bring that to life? And then I guess like for the rest of the identity, like we made sure that there was this like really strong sense of materiality.
That's a nice touch, bro. Love it. Fucking love it, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, sick.
Like big up to Jamelia and to Joe, who are on my team. Like they were incredible to work with. They got the vision. They got really excited about it. Like we were making trouble. Like yeah. And you know, and Hay and her team were just like so on board with this vision, and they loved it. And like I think since then, obviously they've like, you know, they've launched the brands. Like the community of like, they're just in love with it. They're taken this symbol, they're making it out of all sorts of things. Yeah, man, like sick. Hay sent me a photo the other day where they had like this kind of 5-foot kind of massive sculpture that had been made at like one of their kind of launches, and I was just like, this is what it's about, really. Like it's like taking it to the next level where we can actually start to make some cool stuff.
That really is taking it to the next level as well. When you start getting that kind of like interaction from users, and they start becoming like making it their own, and almost like using it in like a really proud way. Do you know what I mean? Dude, this is such a lovely project.
Thank you.
The typo, everything is so coherently done. And like I said, when me and Michael reacted a minute ago, you took the negative to be the cursor, and it's just like it's just, you know, chef's kiss, like really nice.
I appreciate it.
I think what's lovely. It's not nice. I'm going to land it. It's just like it just feels fresh. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's nice.
Yeah. Solid. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it was nice because, you know, one of the surprises that we got from this project obviously was like how well it was received, because we knew in theory what we were doing was kind of right. You know, you can never be 100% sure, but we were like, we're trying to avoid the mistake that often happens when you enter into like a very kind of sacred space, right? Like, because gaming is very protected. And we're like, we want to avoid all the kind of classic mistakes that people make. So how do we ensure that we involve people really early on as part of the process? So we had a lot of like user testing. One of the things we said early on as well with Hay, and Hay was like totally on board, was like, we need to make a trailer to just to reveal the new brands, like just the logo. And so that's where, you know, we doubled up on Owen, the blacksmith. We like made the trailer with him. Excuse me, let me get some water.
Sick, bro. And like the original references you picking from as well, like, you know, going back from like Roman times and working with that blacksmith to keep that authenticity in there. Sick.
Yeah, it was great. And like, you know, like as much as we wanted it to feel like this like natural, real thing, we also wanted to ensure that it still felt like it belonged to gaming. So there was there's a good tension to play with. Like, you know, you saw some of the visuals earlier on of like bringing in like the mechanical keyboards, or you know, like creating some of the, like you said, the cursor like as part of the brand. Like that was something we spoke about right at the start of the project, that we wanted to kind of embed some of these little Easter eggs that like are so prevalent as part of like video games. So yeah, it's a dream project. And I think when it first came in, it didn't feel like it was that. It was just like we were obviously excited about it. But I think towards the end, we were like, man, this is like one of a kind. Like, I don't think we'll be able to do something like this again.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking us through that so in-depthly, Andy. That's sick. That's super inspiring, man.
No worries. Do you want to go for another one?
Michael, have you got any builds on that? You got anything you want to say? Are you good? No pressure.
I was just reserving myself because I know we're all quite tight on time, but yeah, no, if I can, yeah, I fucking love that, Andy. It's so good. I think with games, what naturally happens is you go to gameplay or try to revisualize what gameplay looks like or what it could look like, and I just love how you've took the user. Like you've turned them into the blacksmith. You've put them in those times. Like I'm looking at that old guy there with the robe on, that little emblem badge he's got on. It's like I want that on a piece of string, and I want to be able to buy that from the shop, and it to be all like cruddy and like just pulled out the dirt, and you feel like you're really represented when you play this game, because it is an escape, isn't it? You want to go back to those times. You want to build whatever you're going to build in that space and feel like you're alive in that moment. So I love the shift.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. And that video is from Wyden and Kennedy, because like they did an amazing job on this as well. Like they caught the vision and were like, wait, we need to create a bit of a game launch trailer as well. And so obviously they went to town on the bits. And what's been extra special is like Wyden and Kennedy picked up like a pencil for their video. Our brand picked up like a gaming awards. Like we got gold in a particular game, or I can't remember what it is right now, but like it just went to show that like our strategy and our thinking and an idea like was proven right, and like what we did, you know, not only served the community really well, but it also served the client really well, and I think they were super appreciative.
Yeah, love it. Like, yeah, nice. Have we got time for one more quick one?
Yeah, go on. I can speed through this. I talk too much.
No, it's good, bro. I loved hearing that, bro. It's sick.
So this is, I'll go through this one much quicker. This is a passion project. This is Max, previously Mega. It's a card game that I designed, developed, and released. And this brings together my two major passions in life, which is obviously our creativity and wrestling. And so just kind of like, I guess, step back a little bit. I've never really grew out of my love for wrestling, something that was like massively part of my childhood and still is part of my adulthood. And I'd always wanted to like create something for the community, like combine my skills. And I think maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, I was basically on eBay, and I noticed that people were like Pokemon cards were starting to kind of trickle in again. And this was way before sort of the big boom, if anyone follows any of that community. And I was like, I think there's going to be a bit of a boom here. So let me tap into this medium, right? How about I create something that's a card game that's wrestling related. It gives me permission to kind of start creating my own IP, characters, and all that sort of stuff. And I think it was a good decision, because by the time I'd rolled out this game, like I think within the mainstream, people are hungry for card games. So, but yeah, this really came from like, I guess, a love for like what wrestling represents, like the idea of like suspense, the spectacle, you know, the kind of sporting achievement that it brings. And so I spent, you know, about a good year or two developing kind of the mechanism of the game. So like started from scratch, created the game. It's all unique and to itself. Like it's not really like anything else that's out there. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink some water. And yeah, it was all about this idea of like bringing people into what the pro wrestling world calls kayfabe, like this idea of like having your beliefs suspended for a brief moment, and you kind of like you choose to believe the lie, because it kind of like it invigorates all your senses, right? And so you like it becomes so true it's no longer a lie. And I really love that experience of pro wrestling, that you can go to an event and you can watch these big characters and these storylines, and you know it's all scripted, but the physicality of it, the showmanship of it, the you know the moves, like the athleticism, all of that is real, and all of that like tugs at your heartstrings, right? And it gets you excited, and you almost see yourself in those characters, in that kind of in those moments where two people are wrestling away their kind of emotions and their feelings towards each other. So I was like, I really want to be able to bring people into that, and so that's why I kind of focused on this card game, and so building it out was like obviously such a joy to kind of like start from scratch. So building out my own creating my own characters, using 3D design to kind of bring them to life, building the brand around those characters to kind of give them a home to live in. So trying to use this idea of like, if wrestling is all about kind of like maximizing your emotions and your feelings and your response to the event and the spectacle, like what would that look like as a visual palette? Like, do we have these kind of big explosive, like graphical elements? Do the characters like really carry a sense of charisma and charm? Do the colors really pop off the screen? And physically, when you hold the cards, like, do they feel, simple but bold in appearance? And like even within the mechanism of the game, like can it feel like you're in control of your match and your fighter, but is there a sense of unpredictability to it? So like, do we integrate parts to the game that like are out of control and therefore kind of create that sense of that kayfabe feeling of like you're not quite sure what's about to happen? And part of that meant like obviously I could build out my own custom display typeface, call it super heavyweight because it was just there, isn't it? And like really trying to capture a lot of that personality to the brand, where it's all about being in your face, being bold, being strong. The little details like that make wrestling what it is. Like
that's
belt.
hard, bro. That's hard.
So like going to town on some of this stuff where it's just like, and even just like the packaging, this is something I'm like physically making right now, but like, can we reimagine like how packaging is done to like bring together the idea of the wrestling world? So like, do we use a shoulder box, a term that I've only just found out about, but like to not only like conceal the deck of cards, but like, can you then reinsert your chosen character into the base and it sort of doubles up? So it's packaging, but also it's part of the game now. Do you have these like kind of iconic moments that like people love? Like, does the tone of voice really match some of the personality of what makes wrestling? Like, I think earlier on, I'd written out something like high five to the face with a chair. Like, it's kind of like that kind of ludicrous feeling that comes with wrestling. You're never quite sure what's about to happen next. So, sorry, that was another project. But this. Something I feel really proud of. It's something I'm hopefully going to drop later this year so people can get their hands on. But it's been like a real labor of love and something that I've really enjoyed doing.
Love it, bro.
So sick, Andy.
Yeah, the energy, man. And again, it just feels super. I love the way you present in regards to like the motion. It feels like everything's dynamically and fucking shoved into your face. It's sick. How did you create the characters? Were they in Blender? Yeah, so
I've been using Blender for about 6-7 years now. So I was kind of doing it before it was popular, I'd say. So at the time, what I really should have had was like a visual of my first character I ever did. It's like this kind of like tubular person that doesn't join up in the limbs and stuff. Like, it was terrible. But I'd always like been playing around in Blender and trying to incorporate it into my work. And then I think by the time I got on to creating some of these characters, I was a lot more confident in like what I could do. And I wanted to create something that was stylistically my own. Like, it can be compared to anything else. Maybe it would, evoke feelings of other games and franchises that people love, but definitely stylistically, you could point it back to like, that's an Andy Khatouli character.
I think what's so cool about this, Andy, and I'd love to find out in a minute, is that you can see all the different mediums that you're capable of. And obviously you've got your passion, your love into it. You're seeing so many different touch points of the stuff that we do. You're seeing the like the idea, the strategy. You're seeing type design. You're seeing 3D design. You're seeing animation. You're seeing character design. You're seeing so much. How long have you spent on this project?
This project's also, thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a project that's just been on and off non-stop. Like I initially did it a couple of years ago under a different brand. It was called Mega back then, and that took me like 3 years of like late nights here and there, occasionally on the weekends, juggling, a young family, running a studio at the time as well. So I can't really put a timestamp on like how long it took, but definitely when I rebooted the brand, this has been about 6 months of just like here and there. And yeah, I think one of the things that's been really good about my career and also just the way I'm wired is like I've always loved just learning new things and trying different things and doing stuff wrong or badly, because I know eventually it's going to turn into a valuable skill. And so I've always been really easily bored by life. So I'm constantly looking for the next high or the next trip. So, and when it comes to creativity, it's the same. It's like, if there's like, even after this call, I'm going to figure out how to like chisel a piece of stone. Like I've never done it before, but like it's not stopping me from doing it. Like I've got an idea and I want to just try it. And if it turns out good, then it's cool. And if it doesn't, then I'll just figure out how to do it better later on. But it's always been something that has just been hardwired into me. This year, I found out I've got ADHD. I think that's a massive contributor to it. Just like constant need for stimulus. Turbocharges my creative thinking and my drive to like always be on the lookout for something new. And yeah, I obviously a lot of people ask me like how I do it. Like I know me and Christian have talked about this. He's like, how do you manage to fit this all in? And for me, it's just more of a case of like, it just feels part of me. Like I don't think about it as like a task. I think about it as my identity. And like I've always said, like if I'm not making, I'm not being Andy. And so for me, I don't watch as much Netflix or chill out. Like I go for runs when I need to kind of keep healthy and strong. But like my evenings are spent just making stuff, and it just feels natural and easy to me. Like I don't think about it. So and I know lots of people will like relate with that. Like it's just it's just second nature, isn't it?
I feel that in my belly, bro. I feel that in my soul, what he just said, Michael. Do you know what I'm saying? That's it, bro. That is it, Andy. Fuck Netflix.
Because the reason why I'm asking about the time, Andy, is because if Ragged Edge posted that on their website tomorrow as a case study, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Like a team has done that at Ragged Edge. Without shoving my nose up your bum. Like you obviously spent all that time doing that, and I just thought it's quite nice to hear and also understand that you've spent that time and you've not just released it 2 weeks out just because the idea's there, and you've pushed it into some sort of like investor deck to get the idea. Like I'm sure like all that stuff is to come and whatever, but you've spent so much time on being like, okay, like let's make the belt, but rather than just have like a rough idea and then not completing it because this 3D designer isn't available, or I don't want to spend like, you've just spent the time to just do it yourself and then animate it. All the motion in it, again, the typography, like it's just really nice to see that you've been patient and spent that time with it. Because I think one of the fun things about design is that I'm quite an impatient person, but with design, you can make things happen in a second, can't you? Like you can get an idea down in your sketchbook. It's quite instant. Sometimes. And then you can get it on screen, and then you can mock something up in Illustrator, not crafted, it'll be a mess, but you can do something quick in 10 minutes and you're like, oh yeah, this is a thing. But to get it from that to where you've got that Max project on your own, like it's a lot of time and effort.
I appreciate it. Like, and I know like, it's not perfect. Like that, I would say like, if it's like I'm writing a book on this basically. So like, this is kind of like the culmination of like my career, which is like, I would define my career as I'm never not finished, and I'm okay with that. Like, and that's cool. Like, as long as people can connect with it emotionally or on some level, right? People appreciate it for what it is or where it's at. Then there's always room to improve it, right? And like, that's why I rebooted it. I was like, the first time I did it, I was like, I just need to get this out because it's the right time, it's the right place. We put it on Kickstarter, it got funded in less than a week. Like, big names in the wrestling industry were talking about it. Like, I was like, shit, I didn't expect this, but I just had the feeling, right? Like, and it sits in your stomach as a creative, like the intuition. You're like, I just know, I just need to do it, and I know someone out there is going to appreciate it. And I know there'll be loads of creatives who look at this, look at the work, and go, you could have done this, or you could have done that, and I'm like, yeah, I could have, but like, it's not holding me back from putting it out there. Excuse me. And if you're a designer and you see my work and you're like, you could improve it, tell me, because like I'm going to improve it eventually. Like I'm cool with that. Like I know there's certain standards, like when you work in agency and stuff, like you've got to deliver because you've got a client, you've got a certain image you need to keep up, and the quality and the level of work needs to be at a certain place. And I still have that. Like I've still got that bar in me, and if I'm working with other people, I'll push them to like make sure it gets to that. But there's a part of me also that maybe it has come with maturity where I go, I can't be perfect every time, and I'm cool with that. Like, and what is even perfect? Like, like it's just a stupid label that we're like aiming for that we don't even understand ourselves. And like, for me, I like being bad because eventually it's just going to be good. So it's cool. Like, just get it out there, let people love it. Like, it's not complex. It's not rocket science. Like, I think creativity eventually will find itself in someone's lap, and people will appreciate it for it.
Lad, bro, honestly, and again, with what Michael said a minute, without blowing smoke, bro, lad, this is why we do this podcast. Episodes like this is why we do it. I think there's so much value in this discussion from people, selfishly for me and Michael, but hopefully the little one, again, what you just said, that one listener that's listening to this who's on the fence about something, and like, I think Michael had a great point about patience, like, and coming up, like, again, I've got a plethora of ideas that I want to find time to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find myself jumping around a lot sometimes, you know what I mean? And getting a little bit frustrated because it's like, I think it's harder when you're doing a personal project than doing a project with pressure from, you know what I'm saying? It's a different energy, in it? I like pressure. I need the pressure. So when we was doing Raise the Bars, bro, like, it's like, it's not that like that. It's not pressure in a bad way as such. It's just I want to keep up, and I know you want to keep up. So it's just fire and fire. It's iron sharpens iron kind of energy. Yeah, so good, Andy. I'd love to talk to you for even more. I'd love to talk to you about the book, but we're just running out of time.
That's so good.
I think definitely we'd love to have you on again. With the book coming out maybe or something. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to delve in more. But just to finish, obviously you started Daydreamers now, and you're very much into the world of Daydreamers. Really quickly, how's that going, and what's the plans for the future with Daydreamers?
Yeah. So like, I'm back to freelance life. So like doing creative directing, designing as a freelancer in all sorts of places. But Daydreamers is kind of like the sort of space where I have ideas that won't necessarily get done if I brought them into an agency space. Like, does that make sense? Like, I think everyone's been there wherever you're working, where you kind of suggest an idea, but for whatever reason, it can't get done, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, Daydreamers is just is permission to do that idea. So, and these are kind of like the silly little thoughts that come in your head. You're like, oh, I wonder if I did this, or what if we did this? And like on paper, it sounds shit, but it's like, yeah, but it might not be, right? Mm-hmm. So like, why don't we just like give ourselves the freedom to just do stuff, and then if it sticks, it sticks, and if it doesn't, it was fun to make, right? So Daydreamers is just basically like permission to take those daydreaming thoughts and then make them a reality. And some of them are cool, and some of them are not, but it's fine. I'm cool with that. So the dream is to like be able to like work with anyone and everyone. If you got a cool idea and you need someone to help you kind of bring it to life, and it's like, oh, I spotted an opportunity for this brand, or I was like playing on this project and it gave me another idea, and I know I can't really do it on this project, but maybe I could do it as a solo thing. That's kind of what Daydreamers is all about. So like, if it becomes something bigger, cool. But like, I'm all right with it being just like this kind of community thing that we share.
I like that, Andy, because it's, you know, we've all been in those rooms where it's, you can't do that. It looks a little bit phallic, or, you know, it sounds a little bit like this. So, oh no, like that color represents this. So it can't be that. It can't be that, Andy. You need to stop daydreaming, Andy. You need to fucking wake up. And those rooms just fucking kill creativity sometimes. So yeah, man, that sounds so exciting.
What I will say as well is, like, sometimes in the room, it's the right people, but it might not be the right time or the right project. So, like, I've had people around me who are like, yeah, that's a sick idea. Like, we should make that happen. But I just don't think the person who's in charge is going to sign off on it. And it's like, and I often, when I hear that, for me, it's like, oh, I've got permission to go and do it, rather than, oh, it's not going to happen. Right. I think that's just the way I'm wired. But I'm trying to encourage that in people, which is like, if you've got some dumb idea, just do it. Like, who cares, like, how people respond to it?
That's sick, bro. It's sick.
Let him cook.
Yeah,
let him cook.
Let him cook, bro. It's the difference. Yeah. It's the difference to get where it starts getting onto that, like, that conversation between, like, the differentiation between, like, you know, design and art, and it feels very mischief. Do you know what I'm saying? It feels that kind of world. Like, do what the fuck you want in the way you want to do it, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, then safe.
Do you know what I mean? I totally agree.
Amazing, Andy. Right, we've gone well over time, so I hope we've not took too much of your day, Andy. I hope you're all good still. You're not thank you so much again. Such an inspiring episode, and that was sick. And to finish with, what does your mum think?
Do you know, my mum doesn't know what I do. She doesn't understand it. No, it's cool. But she loves me. She loves me, so it's good. So, yeah, maybe I should have brought her on the call. That would have been fun.
Will she listen to this?
Nah, I'll just be like, I was on a podcast, and then she'd ask me what a podcast is, so it's cool. My mum's like a 50-year-old Iraqi woman who grew up on a farm. Like, she just cares about, like, what's for dinner, are the kids okay? Like, she is chill. She's probably at the allotment right now, like, growing cucumbers. Like, it's cool.
I love it. Well, listen, big up Andy's mum, regardless if she listens or not. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. We'll speak soon.
Andy, I can't. Sorry. I can't let you go just without. I just need a little sentence on what the book is and what it's about. Just a little nugget. Sorry.
No, it's cool. The book's title is Bad in brackets Goods. Bad goods. How to come up with bad ideas that are really good. So it's challenging this idea of, like, perfection, beauty. What does that even mean within our industry? And what would it look like to go the opposite way and try things that are different and out of the box? And how can we utilize that to kind of create ideas that actually do create meaning for people, attached to culture, like, have big impacts, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a small little book, couple of like, 9 or 10 principles, a little bit of an intro into the philosophy and the idea, and hopefully it'll be good in people's hands.
Yeah, sick, man. I think you've embedded that in this conversation. I knew that's where it was going. So yeah, wicked, man. And we never do this. We're bad for doing this, but where can people find you?
Oh yeah, so Instagram, Andy.Khatouli, Khatouli. LinkedIn is the same. My website is going to go up maybe next week. I don't know. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. Everyone, just DM me if you want to chat. I'm cool. If you're in London, we'll go for a coffee.
Amazing, Andy. Thank you so much, bro. Have a sick day. Keep smashing it.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you, bro. Biggest of love, brother.